Imagine you are like standing in your kitchen.
Okay.
You've been living with your partner for maybe, I don't know, 3 months. And you are staring at a wet towel draped casually over a doorknob.
Oh, no.
Right. And suddenly you realize you are just furious. You're not slightly annoyed. You are legitimately questioning the viability of your entire relationship.
Over a damp piece of terry cloth.
Exactly. Over a towel. Because before moving in together, we harbor this beautifully idealized vision of cohabitation. We think love is the ultimate glue.
Yeah, we think we love each other, we have these fantastic dates, we communicate well.
Right. So sharing a space is just going to be this perpetual romantic sleepover. But the stark reality is that love is simply not enough.
It really isn't.
Before moving in, two people must design a sustainable shared life operating system. Because the moment you share a roof, all these invisible things, income, spending values, shared versus personal spending, chores, privacy, conflict repair, they instantly transform into massive daily coordination costs.
Before moving in, talk through how you spend money and how you want daily life to move.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Constructing that operating system is our entire mission for today's deep dive.
And we are looking at a really fascinating stack of sources today to help you, the listener, build this exact framework.
Yeah, way before you ever start taping up cardboard boxes. We are pulling from financial calculators, relationship psychology models, insights from Eve Rodsky's Fair Play system.
Which is fantastic, by the way.
So good. Plus, dense sociological data on cognitive labor, and even some practical legal perspectives.
The goal here is basically to give you the architectural blueprints to avoid the landmines that blow up otherwise happy couples.
Because I think about moving in literally like a corporate merger between two completely different company cultures.
Oh, that is a perfect analogy.
Right, you have two autonomous individuals, essentially two CEOs of their own respective lives, who suddenly have to align on absolutely everything.
Sleep schedules, capital allocation, risk tolerance.
Who is responsible for scrubbing the proverbial break room microwave? And if those two corporate cultures clash without a transition plan, the whole newly formed enterprise just goes completely under.
Yeah, and taking that analogy a step further, any successful corporate merger begins with a very hard look at why the merger is happening in the first place.
Which brings us to the foundational question couples usually gloss over.
Right, exactly. Are you moving in together because you are actually genuinely ready to coordinate daily life on a microscopic level? Or are you just being pushed forward by the momentum of a relationship milestone?
The milestone pressure is so real, and it is incredibly deceptive.
It totally is. You've been together a year, maybe 2 years.
Society, your friend group, your parents, everyone starts asking, so when are you guys finally getting a place together?
It becomes this default next step on the relationship escalator.
Yeah, you just assume it's what you're supposed to do. Or, even more practically, you hit a logistical trigger. The lease is up on your tiny apartment, rent is exorbitant.
And you look at your partner and think, well, we practically live together anyway. We spend 5 nights a week at each other's places. Why are we paying 2 rents?
That specific scenario, moving in to save on rent, or because it is just quote-unquote time, is arguably the most dangerous catalyst for cohabitation.
Our sources explicitly warn against this exact mindset. When couples let convenience or financial pressure drive the decision, they completely bypass the actual everyday coordination conversation.
They just jump the gun.
Right. They merge the corporations without looking at the opposing balance sheets. And the result is the viewer problem we see constantly. Couples find themselves trapped in these emotionally exhausting fights over incredibly trivial things.
Which brings us right back to the wet towel on the doorknob, or like the classic toothpaste tube squeezing fight.
Yes. On the surface, these sound like sitcom tropes, but when you are in the thick of it, the rage is entirely genuine.
So genuine. And we actually have a highly revealing article here from HealthNet, which is a medical and health publication out of Taiwan.
Yeah, and they dissect exactly why these trivial things carry so much weight. They point out how undiscussed daily expenses and unspoken cleanliness standards quickly become the flashpoints for massive arguments.
They offer this really concrete example of a specialty shampoo.
This is such a good example. Let's say one partner uses a $15 boutique shampoo. Before living together, that's just a bottle sitting in their own shower.
It has literally nothing to do with anyone else.
Right. But after moving in together, suddenly that bottle of shampoo represents a financial policy decision. Who pays for it? Is it grouped into the shared grocery expense?
And if the other partner uses like a $3 generic drugstore brand, Do they slowly start to feel resentful that they're subsidizing this luxury $15 shampoo every single month?
Let's play that out. If I'm the partner using the generic shampoo and we split the grocery bill down the middle, I am mathematically paying $7.50 for my partner's shampoo.
Which in month one, you probably don't care about. It's $7.
Right. But in month 8, when I'm stressed about money and I see my partner pump out a massive handful of that expensive shampoo, my brain doesn't just see soap.
Your brain sees a lack of consideration.
Exactly. My brain sees a partner casually spending our collective resources, and then we end up screaming at each other over a dinner reservation, but we are actually fighting about the shampoo.
It's the exact mechanism of everyday coordination failure. Moving in forces two previously autonomous people to suddenly align their entire existence.
And justify their baseline comforts, yeah. KJ Smith's Solicitors, a legal source in our stack, points out something glaringly overlooked that highlights this perfectly.
Which is?
Couples rarely discuss the literal mechanics of how household bills will actually be paid.
Okay.
Not just the philosophy of who pays what, but the administrative mechanism.
Oh, like who actually logs into the portal?
Exactly. Whose credit card is on file? How is the money transferred?
Because if I put the electricity bill in my name, and I have to hunt my partner down on Venmo every single month to get their half, I'm no longer their romantic partner. I become their debt collector.
And that completely changes the dynamic of a Tuesday evening.
It really does.
Hmm.
So how do we get ahead of this? If someone listening is currently packing boxes or just starting to casually browse Zillow, what is the actionable first step?
The required first step is creating a pre-move shared life inventory. You have to bring the invisible aspects of your solo life into the visible light of the partnership.
So sleep, money, chores, privacy.
House rules, conflict repair, all of it. You sit down, audit your solo existence, and ask, how will this specific habit translate when there is another human being permanently in my space?
And I want to challenge you, the listener, to do something a little unconventional here. Don't just sit in a room and try to imagine what will go wrong.
Because your imagination is clouded by the honeymoon phase.
Exactly. Go consult your friends who have significant cohabitation experience. Buy them a coffee, sit them down, and ask them, what are the blind spots?
What is the dumbest thing you've thought about in the first 6 months?
Yes. Because they will tell you things you haven't even conceived of yet. They'll tell you they fought viciously about what time the overhead lights need to be turned off in the living room.
Or what the acceptable ambient temperature of the apartment should be at 2 a.m. Those veteran couples are your best resource.
Because they've survived the friction. And the ultimate goal of this inventory is to identify your non-negotiable baseline requirements for comfort, safety, and security.
Like, are you a notoriously light sleeper who needs a pitch-black room and a white noise machine?
Or do you require a solid, uninterrupted hour of silence after walking through the door from a stressful job?
And we really have to normalize these needs. Needing an hour of silence is not a character flaw. It doesn't mean you don't love your partner.
It is simply an operating parameter. It's the user manual for your nervous system.
Mm.
But if you don't state it aloud, your partner is going to greet you at the door, see you shut down, and internalize it as rejection.
Which is exactly why these parameters must be stated and documented before the keys are handed over.
Okay, so we've done the inventory, we've bypassed the milestone pressure, audited our habits. Now we hit the absolute heaviest hitter in the cohabitation arena.
The topic that destroys more mergers than anything else.
Money?
Money. The immediate first hurdle is figuring out how to fund this newly shared life. And this calculation becomes infinitely more complex when the two partners do not make the exact same amount of money.
Which is, realistically, almost every single relationship.
Almost always. And here is where the traditional inherited wisdom of our culture completely fails us.
Yeah, the default assumption you get from parents or generic finance blogs is that 50-50 is the only fair way.
You take the rent, you split it down the middle, groceries down the middle. It sounds incredibly clean.
Purely egalitarian.
But according to the financial models in our sources, this default 50-50 assumption is actually a massive trap. It breeds deep resentment and severe financial strain, particularly for the lower earning partner.
We have compelling data from Spousal Calc, right?
Yeah.
Which is a financial calculator designed specifically for couple dynamics.
Yes. They provide a concrete scenario that brilliantly illustrates why the 50-50 split might be equal on a ledger, but is fundamentally inequitable in human reality.
Walk us through those numbers, because I think a lot of people listening are currently doing a 50-50 split and wondering why one of them feels like they're drowning.
Okay, let's break it down. Imagine partner one makes $7,500 a month in take-home pay. Partner two makes $4,500 a month.
Okay, a $3,000 disparity. Very common.
Extremely common. Now, let's say they calculate their baseline shared living expenses. Rent, utilities, shared groceries. It totals $3,480 a month.
So 7,500 income for partner one, 4,500 for partner two, and 3,480 in shared bills.
If they apply the traditional 50-50 split, they each owe exactly half, which is $1,740 apiece.
Right.
But look at the impact of that number. For partner one, the higher earner, that $1,740 represents roughly 23% of their monthly income.
Oh, that's a very manageable burden.
They pay their half, and they still have over $5,700 left over every single month for savings, hobbies, dining out. They are comfortable.
But what about partner two?
For the lower earner making $4,500, that exact same payment represents nearly 39% of their monthly income.
Wow. 23% versus 39%. That is a completely different lived experience of the exact same apartment.
It's the difference between financial security and financial suffocation. Partner two is going to be living paycheck to paycheck just to keep up.
They'll have a fraction of the disposable income.
Exactly. If they go out to dinner, partner one might suggest a nice steakhouse, while partner two is secretly having a panic attack about putting their half on a credit card.
And over time, partner two will inevitably feel profound resentment.
And partner one might feel confused or defensive because, in their mind, they are just playing by the rules of fairness. We split it 50-50, what's the problem?
But I want to push back on this a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I can hear the higher earners listening right now getting defensive.
Oh, absolutely.
If I am partner one, and I worked incredibly hard, took on student debt, and I'm making $7,500, why should I be penalized for my success?
Right.
If I use more than 50% of my income to subsidize my partner's living situation, aren't I going to build up resentment? Am I essentially their financial sponsor?
That is the exact friction point that derails this conversation, and it's why we have to introduce the alternative model that Spousal Calc advocates for, the income proportional split.
How does that work? How does it protect both people?
It redefines fairness altogether. In a proportional split, you first calculate each partner's percentage contribution to the total household income.
Okay, so together they bring in $12,000 a month.
Right. Partner one, $7,500, represents exactly 62.5% of that total pie. Partner two's $4,500 represents 37.5%.
Okay, so the ratio is 62.5 to 37.5.
You then apply those exact percentages to the shared bills. Instead of splitting the $3,480 bill in half, partner one pays 62.5%, which is $2,175.
And partner two?
Partner two pays 37.5%, which is $3,305.
Okay, so partner one's payment went up, and partner two's went down.
Yes, but look at the underlying mechanism. Both partners are now contributing the exact same percentage of their own income toward the shared life.
Oh, I see.
They are both parting with exactly 29.2% of what they earn to keep the lights on.
Ah. You are moving the definition of fairness away from equal dollar amounts and transforming it into equal sacrifice.
Equal sacrifice is the core of a sustainable financial partnership. True fairness means ensuring neither partner is proportionally more burdened than the other.
Right, because if one partner has to sacrifice their retirement savings just to afford rent, while the other is maxing out their 401k, that's just unbalanced.
Exactly. Income differences do not dictate one single, rigid fairness formula. The proportional method ensures both partners feel the exact same relative pinch.
Okay, the math makes total logical sense. But we both know money is never just math.
No, never.
You can have a perfectly color-coded proportional spreadsheet, and couples will still scream at each other over a target receipt because we have to talk about the emotional weight of currency.
The psychological layer is arguably more volatile than the math. Our sources point to the Servanda blog, which introduces this critical concept, the identity layer of money.
I love this concept because when couples fight about finances, they are rarely fighting about the numbers. They're engaged in an identity conflict.
Because our relationship with money isn't formed when we download a budgeting app. It's formed when we are 6 years old, watching our parents interact with currency.
The Servanda blog provides this highly relatable dichotomy, someone raised with money vigilance versus someone raised with money avoidance.
The vigilant partner is the one who logs into their banking app before they even get out of bed. They track every single dollar.
And it's crucial to understand why. For a money vigilant person, A savings account isn't just about buying a house. It is a neurological necessity.
Yes. If their savings dip, their nervous system literally registers a physical threat. They need that buffer to feel safe.
Now put that person in a one-bedroom apartment with a money-avoidant partner, or just someone who values living in the present.
The less anxious partner looks at all this tracking and feels completely suffocated, like they have a live-in auditor.
They buy a latte and know they'll get a text about it. Their internal narrative becomes, I work 45 hours a week. Why are we grinding so hard if we can't enjoy a minor luxury without a board meeting?
And neither of them is wrong. They are just operating from two completely different emotional operating systems.
The rupture happens when the vigilant partner inevitably criticizes the spending of the avoidant partner. To the vigilant partner, they are protecting the budget.
But to the avoidant partner, it feels like a direct attack on their identity and their values.
Right. Say the avoidant partner comes from a family where love was shown through generous gift-giving. Birthdays were massive deals.
And the vigilant partner comes from a family of scarcity.
Exactly. If the avoidant partner buys their mother an expensive birthday gift and the vigilant partner calls that purchase wasteful, that is an incredibly deep wound.
It feels like an attack on their family's language of love, which leads us to a profound realization. Budgets will completely fail without shared meaning.
You have to sit down and align on what money fundamentally represents to each of you as individuals. Does it represent security, freedom, status?
If you don't know what money means to your partner, you are navigating their psyche blindfolded.
So what is the actionable takeaway here for the listener? Once you've had this vulnerable conversation, how do you operationalize it?
You implement a system that reflects both shared meaning and equal financial sacrifice. You can use the strict proportional sharing we broke down, calculating the exact percentages for every bill.
Or if that feels too administratively heavy, what's the alternative?
You can use the category responsibility method. Instead of transferring money back and forth, you assign ownership of entire categories based on the ratio.
Oh, so like partner one, the higher earner, just takes over the entire rent payment.
Right. And partner two takes over all the utilities, the shared groceries, and the renter's insurance. You structure it so the totals reflect that 62.5 to 37.5 ratio.
That definitely reduces the transactional friction. So we know how we are funding the shared life equitably, but solving the shared pool instantly creates the next major boundary crisis.
Where exactly does the shared pool end, and where does personal autonomy begin?
Because so many well-intentioned couples accidentally construct like a panopticon, a psychological prison of mutual surveillance.
Yes, there is this impulse to merge everything into one giant joint checking account. All the income goes in, all expenses go out. But then every single dollar spent becomes a joint committee decision.
And partners start to feel smothered. They feel infantilized, judged for the things that bring them joy. And when people feel judged, they don't stop buying things.
No, they just start hiding them, which leads to what the financial industry calls financial infidelity.
That is a heavy, alarming term.
It is, but the data shows it is rampant. We have a survey from Bread Financial via Kiplinger revealing that a staggering 45% of coupled respondents admit to committing some form of financial infidelity.
Wait, almost half of couples are lying to each other about money?
Yes. And for Gen Z couples, it jumps to 53%. More than half admit to hiding purchases, keeping secret accounts, or lying about debt.
That is wild. But if
Yeah.
we look at the mechanism driving this behavior, I completely understand the temptation.
Oucher.
Let's say I'm super into building custom mechanical keyboards. I want to buy a new set of keycaps that cost $120.
Okay.
If all our money's in one joint account and I swipe that shared debit card, I know for a fact my partner is going to see the notification and interrogate me.
Right. Why do you need another keyboard?
Exactly. Even if we have plenty of money, I don't want to have to prepare a PowerPoint presentation to justify my hobby. So the temptation to just put it on a secret credit card is incredibly high.
You've perfectly articulated the causal mechanism. Without clear boundaries between ours and mine, transparency devolves into line-by-line surveillance.
And surveillance triggers the identity conflict.
But the danger is that secretive spending, even if it starts small, can rapidly escalate and derail shared financial goals, shattering trust.
Okay, we have to fix this for the listener right now. I want to give the listener a direct challenge. Write down 3 strict shared categories and 3 strict personal categories.
Based on our sources, this exercise is essential. Shared expenses are the non-negotiable costs of the partnership surviving. Housing, utilities, groceries, shared transport.
The infrastructure of the merger.
Exactly. Personal categories, on the other hand, must be fiercely protected as strictly individual. Personal grooming, solo hobbies, individual clothing, gifts you buy for your own friends.
If I want to buy my sister a ridiculously expensive gift, my partner shouldn't have veto power over that.
No. And the Servanda blog strongly advocates for what they call the shared plus personal account model. It is the most robust structural defense against financial infidelity.
How does it work?
You establish a primary joint account. This is funded every month by both partners, using the proportional method. This account is solely for the shared infrastructure.
But the critical piece is what happens to the rest of the money, right?
Yes, the remainder at each partner's paycheck stays in their own, individual, fiercely private checking accounts.
So my partner doesn't have the password. They don't see the transaction history.
Correct. You maintain complete individual autonomy over your personal funds. No questions asked. If you want to spend your money on a $120 set of keycaps, you do it.
It eliminates the need for surveillance, and therefore it eliminates the urge for infidelity. It's the ultimate pressure release valve.
But some couples hear this and think, wait, keeping money separate means we aren't truly committed. There is a cultural stigma that true love means total financial enmeshment.
But enmeshment is not intimacy. Intimacy requires 2 distinct, autonomous individuals choosing to build something together.
Exactly. And to address that fear of disconnection, there is one more crucial mechanism to make this system foolproof. It's called the large purchase threshold.
I love this concept. Broke down how the threshold operates.
The large purchase threshold is a mutually agreed upon dollar amount, say $150 or $200. The rule is simple. Any purchase below that threshold, even if it's drawn from the shared account for a household item, stays entirely autonomous and unquestioned.
So I don't need to text my partner to ask permission to buy a $40 blender on Amazon.
You just buy the blender. Routine, daily spending must remain frictionless.
Because if I have to text for approval for every minor purchase, the cognitive load becomes unbearable.
But any purchase above that agreed-upon threshold requires a joint conversation before the credit card is swiped.
So if I decide we need a $600 espresso machine, that triggers the threshold. I cannot unilaterally make that decision, even with my personal money.
Because a $600 purchase might impact our broader financial safety net, or it's just a massive object taking up shared counter space. It forces a pause.
It balances the need for daily autonomy with the need for long-term transparency. It's such an elegant system. Proportional funding, separate personal accounts, and a large purchase threshold.
The financial merger is conquered.
We're totally good to go, right?
If only human behavior were that easily contained by banking structures. Because now we have to transition to a currency that is far more volatile, the currency of time and energy.
We're moving out of financial labor and into household labor, which means diving into the most explosive question in modern cohabitation. Why does one partner always, without fail, feel like they do substantially more work?
This is where relationships go to die. One partner feels chronically exhausted, deeply resentful.
And the other is sitting on the couch, genuinely baffled, saying, "What are you mad about? I took out the trash. I did the dishes when you asked. I do my share."
This disconnect is the most pervasive, destructive dynamic in modern cohabitation. We are relying heavily on Eve Rodsky's phenomenal book, Fair Play, alongside a sociological synthesis from Wikipedia on cognitive labor.
The viewer problem is exactly that burnout. And statistically, the partner burning out overwhelmingly tends to be the woman.
Assuming the role of what Rodsky aptly calls the she-fault parent, or the default household manager.
How can 2 intelligent people, looking at the exact same kitchen, have wildly different perceptions of how much work is being done?
Because of the insidious mechanism of invisible work in cognitive household labor, the conflict stems from a misunderstanding of what a chore actually is.
Most people envision the physical execution. Wiping a counter, pushing a vacuum.
But the physical execution is only the tiny visible tip of the iceberg. Underneath the water is the cognitive labor, the relentless mental planning, anticipating needs.
What Eve Rodsky codifies as the CPE model.
Right.
Conceiving, planning, and executing.
Exactly. Let's take the most mundane household task, buying eggs. The executing phase is the physical act of walking into the store, picking up a carton, swiping a card, and putting them in the fridge.
And partner B sits on the couch and proudly declares, "I bought the eggs. I contributed."
But long before that, there was the conceiving phase. Someone had to physically notice the carton was low. Someone had to mentally project that Thursday mornings are pancake mornings.
Someone has to hold the constantly fluctuating inventory of the entire kitchen in their mind at all times.
That background monitoring is conceiving. Then comes the planning phase, adding it to a shared list, figuring out when the grocery trip can actually happen around work schedules.
Realizing you need to go to the specific store across town that carries the cage-free brand.
Right, and so if partner A is doing all the conceiving and all the planning and then has to walk in and ask partner B to pick up the eggs.
Partner B is only doing the execution, 1/3 of the actual labor. And that is why partner A is completely exhausted.
When one partner only executes when explicitly asked, the other partner is forced into the role of household management. The dynamic shifts from a partnership into a hierarchy.
Partner A becomes the general contractor, and partner B becomes a day laborer waiting for instructions. And managing a day laborer is work.
It takes immense energy to delegate constantly. The Wikipedia source references sociologist Alison Deminger, who points out that this third shift falls disproportionately on women, and it acts as a massive barrier to their professional opportunities and basic relaxation.
This perfectly explains why a certain phrase is so triggering. When the overwhelmed partner expresses frustration, the other partner always says, "Well, just tell me what you want me to do."
They think they're being helpful.
But to the person managing the house, it's throwing the burden right back. They're thinking, "I don't want to tell you what to do. I am not your boss. I want you to conceive, plan, and execute without me."
They want a co-manager, not an employee.
Yeah.
So how does the fair play system dismantle this?
I know it gamifies the solution, which sounds a bit gimmicky, but the mechanics are incredibly sound.
Brodsky created a system of 100 specific task cards representing all the labor. These are divided into 5 suits: home, out, caregiving, magic, and wild.
Home covers daily chores. Out covers errands. Caregiving is self-explanatory. Wild covers crises.
But magic is fascinating. It encompasses the magical, memory-making moments, planning birthday parties, organizing holiday dinners, writing thank you notes.
The things that make a house a home, but take immense unseen planning.
The actionable takeaway from fair play is to abandon the idea of a 50-50 split of isolated physical tasks. Instead, assign an owner to a recurring responsibility.
And ownership means you hold the card, and you own the entire unbroken CPE loop. Conceive, plan, execute.
Exactly. If you own the groceries card, what does that demand of you?
It means I don't just go to the store with a list my partner made. I monitor the pantry, I conceive the meals, I make the list, I execute the purchase and put the food away.
The cognitive load is entirely off your partner's plate. You hold the card end to end, and then, this is the absolute linchpin, you establish a weekly review loop to discuss how the system is functioning.
The review loop is vital because humans fail. If I own the groceries card and it's Wednesday night and there's nothing to eat but mustard, my partner's going to be furious.
Yes, but the review loop changes how they express it. They don't nag you on Wednesday night. You discuss the failure during a scheduled, emotionally regulated check-in on Sunday.
It moves the conflict from a reactive explosion to a proactive discussion. But what happens when you've done all of this and one partner is just systematically failing on their cards?
Because the visceral human reaction is to attack their character.
You walk into a dirty kitchen and the internal monologue is, "You didn't do the dishes. You're so lazy, you don't care about me."
That instinct to label our partners is what we need to deconstruct in Chapter 5. Does not trying actually mean low care? Or is it burnout? Or different speeds?
Because labeling someone as lazy creates an inescapable dynamic of nagging and defensiveness.
We rely on the energy and engagement model to short-circuit that assumption. There are 3 highly different possibilities.
Let's go through them. What's the first one?
The first is low relationship investment. Your partner genuinely does not care enough to modify their behavior.
Ouch.
But statistically, in a committed partnership, this is actually the least common reason.
Okay, so if they probably do care, what's the second possibility?
Burnout. Systemic, overwhelming exhaustion. If they are working 60 hours a week or dealing with a health issue, they literally do not have the cognitive bandwidth left for household labor. They are in survival mode.
You can't squeeze water from a stone. But what if they aren't burned out and they do care, but the house is still a disaster?
The most common culprit. They simply move at a fundamentally different pace than you do, and they hold completely different, culturally ingrained definitions of what the word done actually means.
The definition of done. This is the battleground. Because my definition of a clean kitchen might mean dishes in the dishwasher, counters wiped with antibacterial spray, sink scrubbed, floor swept.
And your partner's definition, shaped by their upbringing, might simply be no visible food on the plates, and the plates are neatly stacked in the sink waiting for tomorrow.
Exactly. So they walk away feeling accomplished, and I walk in an hour later and lose my mind. I think they're disrespecting our agreement, but they are being malicious.
This is why the expert rule is absolute. Never equate a slower pace or a different functional standard with laziness. Do not shame your partner and do not diagnose them.
A dish in the sink is just a dish in the sink. But I'm going to push back. If I can't call them lazy, but the kitchen still isn't clean to my standard and it's giving me anxiety, what do?
You bridge the gap by utilizing observable requests and responses, and you establish a minimum standard of care, or MSC.
Minimum standard of care. That sounds incredibly clinical, like a corporate HR document.
The terminology is clinical, but the mechanics are brilliant. You don't have to use the phrase MSC. You can just say, hey, can we agree on exactly what a finished kitchen looks like?
Oh, I see.
You sit down, mutually agree on exactly what done looks like for a specific task. You agree. Closing down the kitchen means all dishes in the machine and counters wiped. Scrubbing the sink is a weekend task.
So if they meet that specific standard, I am not allowed to complain that they didn't polish the faucet.
Exactly. You let go of the micromanagement. But conversely, if they fail to meet the MSC, you now have objective grounds to discuss it at the weekly check-in.
It changes the conversation from, you're lazy, to, hey, I noticed the agreed-upon standard wasn't met. What happened there?
It preserves the dignity of both partners, which leads us to the final piece. How do privacy and conflict repair keep this entire agreement alive?
Because life isn't a static laboratory experiment. You can have the best spreadsheets and MSCs, but then reality hits.
Yes. The viewer problem here is that couples will set all these fantastic boundaries and then abandon them the moment they hit a rough patch. Stress, a flu, a heavy work week.
The system cracks under the pressure, and they revert to passive-aggressive behavior.
The psychological mechanism driving this is treating these initial agreements as rigid, legally binding guarantees. Agreements are experiments.
Agreements are experiments. That is a profoundly freeing concept. If it's an experiment, it's allowed to fail. We just run a new one.
Life rhythms change constantly. Incomes fluctuate. If there is no built-in system for emotional repair and renegotiation, the operating system will inevitably fail.
So practically, how do we build that flexibility in?
Our sources suggest two vital components. The first, from Fair Play, is the concept of unicorn space.
Unicorn space. What exactly is it?
It is the absolute necessity of protected personal time and autonomy, time spent actively doing things that make you uniquely you, outside of your roles as a partner or employee.
Like painting or joining a running club.
Exactly. It's called unicorn space because it feels like a mythical creature that doesn't exist for busy adults, but you have to actively create the habitat for it.
If the operating system doesn't carve out dedicated, guilt-free time for each partner, they will slowly lose themselves in the relationship.
And losing your identity breeds toxic resentment, so aggressively protect personal autonomy. Defend your partner's unicorn space as fiercely as your own.
And the second component,
Implementing a monthly renegotiation template.
a scheduled time to explicitly adjust the experiment.
Yes. A designated low-stakes time to review the system. And you do not do this during a heated argument at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday. You do it during a calm Sunday morning.
But how do we avoid it feeling like a terrifying performance review?
You ask 3 specific questions. 1, what is working well? You must validate the successes. 2, what needs adjusting? This is where you tweak the experiment. Maybe the proportional split needs recalculating.
Or the standard for laundry is just too high right now. And the third question,
3, how do we repair any emotional friction from the past month?
a dedicated space for emotional repair. That is huge. Because in the moment, we rarely repair it properly.
Exactly. During this check-in, you can say, hey, last week I was stressed and snapped at you about groceries. I want to apologize. It treats the relationship as a living organism that requires constant observation and care.
Okay, let's bring this massive exploration all together. Building this robust, invisible architecture is exactly what frees up your cognitive energy for real romance and genuine connection.
When the background noise of unmade decisions and unspoken resentments is finally silenced, you suddenly have the bandwidth to actually enjoy your partner's company.
So I want to leave you, the listener, with a provocative thought. How much more deeply could you love your partner if you never had to secretly resent them for how they load the dishwasher or spend their bonus? If the system handled the friction of daily survival, What could the actual landscape of your love look like?
Designing that landscape is the ultimate goal of the shared life operating system.
To make sure you have the blueprint to build that landscape, here are the 3 takeaways from today's deep dive. Number 1. Before moving in, discuss income, spending values, shared and personal spending, and decision rights.
Number 2, coordinate chores, invisible work, privacy, and life pace with concrete requests, owners, and a review loop.
Yeah.
Do not equate slow with lazy.
Number 3. Treat the agreement as an adjustable shared life experiment. Set a large purchase threshold, preserve personal autonomy, and renegotiate when life changes.
If this moving in conversation helped you, please like, subscribe, share, and turn on the bell for AI Dialogue Lab.